Hello and welcome to another episode of Bad Comic Review. Today we are looking at Warlord issue 15, and the cover says more pages, more action, and they are not kidding. Now Morgan and his friends have finally reached the outskirts of Shambhala. Morgan climbs a tree to look and see if, the city is close by, and while he's up there, Machiste discovers that Mariah is in love with Morgan, and she's very upset by them finally reaching their destination. And he says he knew from the second that he saw them together that he knew that she was in love with him, but he was the only one blinded to it. While Morgan's in a tree, someone takes a shot at him, and he barely manages to grab a vine, loses his helmet for a moment, and he explains to the others that he was shot at. So they're like, alright, we gotta go find out what's going on. So they hide in some trees when people are coming, and they think it's a war party, but it's actually refugees fleeing the city. And when they find out that he's the warlord, they say, yeah, the princess is in the palace. You need to get over there. She's waiting on you. So he runs through the ancient city, which looks really cool, actually. Bursts through the door and screams her name, and she's like, they said you had gone back to your world, which was issue 5, but I waited, and now here you are. Oh, I waited for you. Then she punches him, and here you are with some flame-haired hussy. Well, that's not a phrase you hear very often. And of course that sets Mariah off, and they end up in a little sword fight, which Morgan tries to break up, and he grabs Tara, and she says to him, let me go, and he says, no, I'll never let you go again. And then they smooch. But of course Mariah is very upset by this, and she takes off, and Machiste says, I have no time for fools, and he starts running, and Morgan's like, I didn't know, because he's oblivious, but before he can chase after them, there's some more laser bolts shooting at him. And so they go he's trying to get Tara to go and leave with him, and she says, no, there's someone here that cannot leave on his own, and I'm not leaving without him. So she leads Morgan to a little chamber that's really like an ivory coated chamber, and introduces Morgan to his son that he didn't know he had. But before they can get too cozy, another blast shoots through part of the city, and they decide to go check out what's going on because those blasts are coming from within the city. So he has a suspicion because during the 5th issue, he had seen some of the monitors, and he has a pretty good idea what's going on. So while they're on their way down, they catch up on what's going on in Skartaris, what happened with Morgan. They just kind of briefly explain it in a panel. And then they find an entrance by an old waterworks that leads down to the computer, and it is huge. And that's when they're set upon by some lasers, and Morgan figures out that it's the computer that's shooting at them, because this is where all the knowledge was stored, was in this massive, massive city-sized computer. And it's finally gone insane from being left alone for so many untold aeons. Well, of course, they try and fight back as best they can, but the computer's trying to kill them. Finally, they figure out that the source of the computer's power is this sun refractor, so they have to move the dish, and it burns a hole in the side of the wall, and lets out a torrent of water from the underground lake that was feeding the water system, which of course is upsetting because Morgan was hoping to use the information in the computer to help the people of Shambhala and all of Skartaris out of the Bronze Age, basically. But instead they go up to the palace and find that the baby's missing and his guardians are almost all dead. And of course we have a cliffhanger ending because who should have the baby but Demos? And they are too late to stop him. And that's when they both find out that Demos is still alive. We're alive again, technically. This was a fantastic issue. So much action. It's 44 pages long, almost entirely action. There's some drama in there, some romance, some smoking hot chicks fighting each other. But the baby's kind of fat, actually. So overall, a great issue. There's a lot going on. It was a real fun read, and of course it's illustrated by Mike Grell, so I'm a big fan of his art style. It's written by Mike Grell as well. Inker was Joe Rubinstein, colorist Adrian Roy, letterer was Karen, and editor was Larry Hama. So all around, another great adventure in Skartaris with its eternal sun. And I really like the technology stuff, from the lost world of the Atlanteans. It's pretty cool, and hopefully they'll do some more with that in the next few issues. But yeah, overall, great issue. Highly recommended. This was definitely the best issue in 4 or 5 issues. So there's a lot of action, a lot of adventure, a lot of just non-stop stuff going on. They're leaping all over the place, swinging across things, getting shot at. Great adventure story. So if you're looking for a good read, this does serve as a good standalone issue, and I'm going to try not to give you too much more detail on it because it was a fun read. It's a little predictable by today's standards, but it was a lot of fun. So I highly recommend this one. If you're looking for a good adventure story, like I said, this is definitely one of the better ones that I've read lately. So be sure and check it out, and that'll do it for this one. As always, thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.